Divorce is not an option podcast. Let's get it. Stephen James Dixon.
This is Tamara Daracell, and happy 28 days of Ebony Love.
You didn't do the hey, y'all.
Okay, well, hey, y'all. You told me to just say your name.
You can find this podcast not only on all podcast platforms, but also on ebony.com in the category Love and Sex.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about 5 reasons to fight for your marriage. Stephen, go ahead and give us the first reason.
The first reason to fight for your marriage is that you don't know what you have not been taught how to fight for your marriage.
You want to try that again?
You don't know that you have not been taught how to fight for your marriage.
Okay, so I'm totally lost. You don't know that you have not been taught how to fight for your marriage. Well, yeah, I mean, nobody was really taught how to fight for their marriage. Like, what do you mean by that?
Right. So what I mean is too many couples come in and they just blame marriage. Like they just blame the institution as if it's something wrong with it instead of taking responsibility of looking at the person in the mirror. Like too many couples, they'll look at their spouse and say, if my spouse just did this better, the marriage would be better. You know, too many couples have been taught. Yeah. Too many couples have been taught that. Too many couples have been taught that fighting for your marriage is actually like fighting your spouse. Like I have couples come in and say, either husband or wife will say, "Hey, I've been fighting, I've been arguing, I've been trying to talk to them and all that," and really you're fighting them instead of fighting for your marriage.
Trying to get them to see or understand your side. So, okay, so if you're talking about fighting for your marriage as if the husband and wife are on the same team, how do you fight for that victory?
Right. And so what I try to communicate to couples is that marriage is a team. Like your husband and your wife is a team. And so if you're the quarterback and you throw a pass and a receiver drop the ball, you can't come back to the huddle and say, "Man, you sorry." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's all your fault we lost the game today. You know what I'm saying? As a team, you got to be like, "Hey, I believe in you. I'm going to throw it to you again. I think you're going to catch it next time." And yet as a team, you got to feel like this is how we got here. We're going to do the things that we did to get here. And this is how we're going to win. I believe in you. You're going to make it happen.
That is so awesome. So it's funny that you picked this topic because about a week and a half ago, we had a marriage retreat at my church, and the theme was Love TKO and how to fight for your marriage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I love one of the things that my pastors, shout out to Life Community Church, Collin County. But one of the things that my pastors stressed were, what is your why? Why did you get married? Why are you still married? And what are your goals going forward in your marriage? And so if you focus on your goals for your marriage, then you focus on what you're fighting for.
It's a lot of couples that get married. It's a good topic, actually, because there's a lot of couples that get married and they don't have a goal.
Yeah.
Like a lot of,
I mean, honestly, we were like, wait a minute, what?
A lot of people getting married is the goal, right?
Yeah. We kicking it.
We made it. I got somebody that's committed to loving me for the rest of my life. I'm good now.
Right. Okay, so back to your sports analogy, though.
Right, and so exactly.
Okay.
So what I was talking about was fighting for marriage. Right. Go ahead. You go ahead.
So, getting back to what your sports competition, though, you were talking about, how the players kind of act in the game. So, what were you saying about that?
We in every game there comes a point, especially when championship game or something like that, where one of the players says, "Hey, we're not going to lose." Like I saw it in the All-Star game over the weekend.
Not lose.
That guy, what I'm saying? Like, and everybody can see that, okay, all of a sudden this guy look like he playing harder than everybody else.
Right.
Like even to fans who are not big sports fans, you can say, okay, that guy keeps scoring and they can't stop him, and we need someone in the marriage with that kind of attitude about the marriage. Like our marriage cannot be stopped. There's no problem bigger than the marriage. There's no issue that we can't recover from. We're going to win. We need someone to come into the marriage in the fourth quarter and say, "Hey, we're losing right now, but we're going to figure it out."
Okay, so you want husbands and wives to develop an attitude that they won't lose.
Like as a husband, my marriage is going to be successful. As a wife, my marriage is going to be successful. And this is what I'm going to do differently. Everybody listening, man. Like the first thing I do when I'm working with couples is I'm not going to let the husband sit here and talk about the wife. And I don't let the wife talk about the husband. I spend my first couple weeks with couples, I'm talking to the husband about the husband. Every time the husband try to make a complaint, no, bring it back. Let's talk about you. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, and I'm always communicating that each spouse has enough that they can do on their own without worrying about what the other person is doing.
Amen. Okay, so what's your second reason to fight for your marriage?
And really that goes into the second reason, how one person can save a marriage.
Okay, what's that?
It's just, yeah, I saw how you did that. A lot of people do look at me crazy when I say that. And what I mean by that is like just the same way as same analogy with the sports athlete. Sometimes an athlete can take over the game by himself and push the whole team, propel the whole team forward. So LeBron James start playing hard. So now Kyrie Irving start playing hard. So now Kevin Durant start playing hard. And so same thing in marriage is the husband, if he starts working hard, and kind of like the article we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where the husband just started working a lot harder, start being focused on what he could do. Like, how can I make your day better? And every day asking, how can I make your day better? What can I do differently? What can I do better? And then the wife naturally looks at that husband and says, he's trying. I need to try harder.
Okay. So you're not saying it's like going to be just a one person thing forever, but at some point the other spouse comes around.
You know what? You're right. I make the mistake of not making that clear. And that's definitely the point that I'm trying to make, is that for a certain amount of period, one spouse can carry the marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah. And so I just trust and believe, and I've worked with couples and I've seen it happen, that we'll have a wife come in here every day and she does well and she does better. And then the husband notices, and then the husband says, cause see, I play on, I don't know the correct words. I'm sure you correct me, but I really just focus in on, like, I just believe if one person in a marriage is really working hard to have a better marriage, that the other person will notice that and say, okay, they're trying, I need to try. The only people that don't do that are crazy people, right? Like,
you have to have some level of empathy for your spouse.
Right. It's, at some level, when your spouse come home and they say, okay, I'm going to cook and I'm going to clean and I'm going to work and I'm going to do everything. I'm not going to say nothing about them. I'm not going to complain about them at all. I'm going to love on them. I'm going to tell them have a good day. I'm going to send them a nice text message. I'm going to call her and just leave her a voicemail or whatever. And if you do that consistently, and I don't know how long you're consistently got to be. I don't know if it's 2 weeks. I don't know if it's 2 months. I don't know if it's a year. It depends on how you got there, right?
To all the spouses who are holding it down by themselves for whatever their time period is.
You know what? You're right that we got to take a moment and just recognize there's people out there right now that are like, I'm doing everything to save my marriage. And am I doing this in vain?
Just keep holding on.
Just keep holding on. Hold on forever. I want to say as long as you can, but I just, caught myself and say just forever. You gotta believe in your marriage.
Yeah.
You have to believe.
Okay. So next point.
And so the next point I was talking about is it's important that as a husband and as a wife, we don't lose sight of how important it is to maintain your respect. As a man, we got to maintain our respect. As a woman, we got to remind ourselves that we are the source of love.
Okay, hold on. So I'm a little confused because you always hear that women need to respect men and men need to love women. So you kind of reverse here.
Men require respect.
Right.
They value respect. And women require love. Right. And so in the process of a man requiring respect, you have to maintain your respect. Like, meaning you can't do things that cause your wife to disrespect you, or you can't do things that cause your wife not to have respect for you. Women, when what happens with women is they become angry or hurt or whatever, and they don't exhibit that love. And the type of love that a wife has given a husband, quite honestly, a lot of times this is the first time that we've really been loved. And so we got to learn from our wives how to love. And I find so many relationships with a woman just not loving no more. She hurt, she upset, she disappointed.
That really is kind of deep what you just said. Like, basically, men need respect, but they have to create an environment of respect. And women need love, but they have to create an environment of love.
Right. Like be loving. I'm talking to women, like be loving. To my men, I'll have certain men. I have certain men that won't take out the trash or don't take out the trash in time. And so women, a lot of times, I'll talk to them about, you got to get back to being loving. Like, you got to love your marriage through it. I got a lot of women that when they get upset, they start responding in anger instead of responding in love. Like, I have a client right now where the wife gets upset when the husband is watching the game. And so she attacks the game. Like, I hate the game. I hate the media room. You always in there. Instead of saying, hey, can you spend some quality time with
it's
me?
really a balancing act, because we talked about the accountability and holding your partner accountable a couple of podcasts ago. But being able to hold your partner accountable in a loving way is a true balancing act.
Right, but it's the example I just gave, right? Instead of saying, hey, I'm tired of you watching the game all the time, you say what you really want is, can you spend some quality time with me? That's in a loving way. And then with the men, like I talk about, is I just see, every time I see a man get in the passenger side with a woman, I judge him. Like I judge him, like, well, dude, so you about to go over there and relax and surf the internet while your woman take on the stress of driving home?
Because I don't know, like, we have been taught gender roles, and sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. Sometimes the man is not the breadwinner. Sometimes the woman is better at, I don't know, cutting the grass. I don't know. I'm not cutting nobody's grass, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like, do we really have to adhere to those strict gender roles?
No, my wife can take out the trash if she so chooses, but she will say, hey, honey, I need you to take out the trash. Yeah. I'll go take out the trash, and of course, if a man is like been drinking and he's not, in a position to drive, then of course his wife should drive. Right. But I could, in 12 years of marriage, my wife probably drove me somewhere like maybe 5 times, 5 total. Like if my wife drives up to where I am, she gets out of the driver's seat and gets in the passenger seat.
People. I mean, like, I'm honest, and I can't believe I'm actually going to make this proclamation, but my husband is a little bit better of a cook than I am. So, I mean, like, he could cook.
Right. And so a part of being a good partner and a good spouse is recognizing that your spouse does something better than you. Right. So even though we have gender roles, it's stupid if you think like just because you're the husband, you should balance the checkbook. That's dumb. If your partner does it better. So it's not about being stupid. Like I said, it's not about if you drunk, you should drive just because you're the man. You know what I'm saying? It's about for me, like I always do everything I can to maintain the respect level that I need in order to lead the family. So like my wife don't go in the dealership. The only time she go in the dealership is to buy a car. You know what I'm saying? She ain't going to change her oil, ask about the tires. I got husbands that I'd be like, start off conversations like, well, when she went in to see about getting new tires for her truck, and I'm like, why is she doing that? She not interested in that. Like she don't want to do that. If you asked her if she wanted to talk to the mechanic about what's wrong with her car, she would say no. And so now don't get me wrong. If woman is like, I don't want no man taking care of my car, if that's what works for your marriage, great. I'm not trying to change you. I'm just telling you what I generally see in relationships for couples that come to me. Woman don't want to mess with the car. She don't want to. She don't want to go to the dealership. She don't want to go to the car wash. She don't want to cut the grass. And, dudes don't want to cook for the most part. Right. I don't want to cook, but what I do is I bring food home. I'll bring prepared food home. I'll barbecue. I go to the barbecue place. And so I'm not trying to lock you into certain things. I'm only saying to you, be smart, maintain your respect as a man. As a woman, you have to exhibit love so we understand love, because we're learning love. Like I learned so much about love watching my wife love on our children. Right. And just watching her kiss. I used to I would never kiss my son on the mouth. Right. I just wouldn't do it. She kissed him for 2 years. And it wasn't until he was like 2 or 3 years old. One day he kissed me on the lips. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't turn gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I love him. Crazy. It's okay. Anyway. That's how I look at it. So we don't want our women to not lose their ability to be the source of love. We want our men to always look for ways to
how do we learn that? Because I mean, like, if you don't come from a place of those gender roles, or as a woman, if you come from a place where you are hurt and had some broken things in the past, how do you learn how to keep holding your partner accountable, but not responding in anger or not responding with that hurt?
It's not how do you learn. It is that you go learn, right? It's like go.
I mean, where? Half the time people's parents were not the best examples. Like, I'm just like, where you just picking this up at?
Right. No, I'm talking about you.
Yes.
I'm talking about you just going to the marriage retreat, right? Last weekend. Right. Go seek out those. Go to marriage retreat at different churches. Seek out mentors. Find families that are older than you, married couples that have been married 50 years, and ask them advice. You can find a married couple right, that's been married 50 years, and you can say to them, hey, I'm newly married.
That's
You know,
good.
we're a young couple. You guys made it 50 years. Do you mind being a mentor to us? Maybe once a quarter or something like that, we take you guys out to dinner.
Okay. Okay.
You could do that. Learn. So it's not how do you learn, it's recognizing that you need to learn
So
and then doing what you need to
maintaining that,
do to
men
gain that
maintaining that
wisdom and
respect
knowledge.
and women maintaining that love kind of helps you to be able to communicate better and not have such huge arguments and fight together for your marriage.
Absolutely. And so then we move to reason number 2. When we talk about fighting for your marriage, I say one person can save a marriage. And so again, with the sports analogy, what I talk about is every team blames the head coach, right? And so, but every team, just like a marriage, has other people. Like in a marriage, God is the head coach, right? So that means that you're not the head coach. Let's say, for example, on a football team, you have an offensive coordinator, you have a defensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator don't worry about what the defense is doing, right? The defensive coordinator don't worry about what the offense is doing. That's how we need our marriages to be set up. We need husband to be worried and focused on his responsibilities, his work, his how does he love her? And we need wife to be totally focused in and locked on to her role as a wife. We got so many people. You know what people do? I've had couples come in here where the wife knows to a T
Like, fix
the
him.
husband's responsibilities, but don't know the wife's responsibilities. Right. No, he's supposed to be opening the car door. He's supposed to be calling me, taking me out on a date. He's supposed to be pulling out my chair. You know what I'm saying? Right. He's supposed to be doing all of this. He's supposed to be rubbing my feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, what do you bring to the table? And she was really like, right. She was really like, well, you know, he didn't do his part. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, no, we got to do both parts at the same time. The game started at the same time. It's not like offense go out on the field and defense go out there later. Everybody got to be ready to play at the same time. So we need husbands and wives to do their work at the same time. So sometimes defense go out first and then offense go out first. But the game starts and everyone has to be ready to play at the exact same time. It can't like not like offense start at 12 and defense come at 4.
All right, so I've heard you say also that you don't believe in marriage counseling. You believe in husband coaching and wife coaching.
Right, and that's to the example, right? Like people blame the marriage. Don't blame the marriage. Take responsibility for what you could take responsibility for and just coach yourself up. Like really evaluate yourself. It goes to what we said last week, right? Self-evaluation, self-improvement, and self-reflection. Right? Like really when my marriage was bad, those first 2 years, the way I turned it around was to ask myself, what can I do?
Okay.
Like, that's all I asked. What can
reason
I
number
do
3
better
to stay and
save my
fight for your marriage, what's that?
People just don't have examples of marriages coming back from the depths of hell, right? Like we all get marriages that are bad and they get a divorce, or maybe we find some marriages that are pretty good, but we never really get because people are not as transparent as they need to be in marriage.
Kind of whispers of stuff, but nobody ever actually says, yeah, I was going to divorce them and stayed.
And so I've had couples in the state of Texas, like you got sick, you file for divorce, then you wait 60 days and then you get the divorce. I've had couples go to the 58th day and said, you know what, let's save our marriage, and brought them all the way back to now where they got kids and they're happy and all that kind of stuff. And it's because really in marriage, man, those first 2 years are so tough that we're really merging 2 cultures.
But for real.
I thought
cracks me up though. It's in like your first year of marriage, people always asking you how you doing. You know it's hard. Why you asking?
It's hard. It is so hard. And really, and what I'll say too is almost every couple that I've ever worked with, no matter how long they were married, if they were married 10 years, they were married 25 years, they were married 8 years, the problems in their marriage started in the first
25
2 years.
Need to tell the couples who just got married,
right?
Hey, the first 2 years are hard. Our first 2 years were hard, but you can make it to 25.
Right. And the other sad thing is sometimes we have couples who made it 25, 40, 50 years and they don't even know how they made it or what they did. And it's really, they really need that opportunity to be mentors so someone could just ask them questions and bounce ideas off of them. And then that's when you pull it out of them. That's when you know, if you actually present to them, okay, me and my wife are having a problem deciding on how to buy a house, you know, and then the couple that's been married 50 years is like, yeah, we done bought 3 houses.
Yeah, because I remember
you know
my great aunt saying,
you may have to pull it
how
out
you stay married 50 years? And she said, you stay.
Right. And so you have to, and so you give up, right? But then no, you got to pull it
good.
out of them. Like, have you ever had a problem with intimacy? And they'll say, yeah, back in 82. They say, yeah, back in 82, this and that. And then in 95, he did this and we ain't talked to each other for 4 months.
Here.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, but sometimes you got to pull it out of them.
Amen.
So reason 4 is to stay and fight for your marriage is that marriage is on the job training. And so you don't know, a lot of times you just don't know what you're doing. We all get married, and for a certain amount of days, months, or years, we're a bad spouse until we kind of figure out our roles. So it took me a solid 2 years to figure out what I was doing as a husband. You still in a 2-year time frame.
Means, and I'm like, that's not what it meant to
me. And so y'all got to know, and really the key thing, and I think if you take anything from this podcast today, as for our new couples, is that you're really merging two cultures. You're merging two, and I don't want to say merging two people or merging two things or trying to, you're really merging two cultures, two different ways of life.
Two cultures merging. Two people. He said the exact words.
Good. Oh, he said the exact words. He been listening. Wow, he been listening and biting on the podcast.
You crazy.
I'm gonna need that little check.
What you were saying
like
is so real for new couples to recognize that you're merging two cultures, and that if you're struggling, it's normal.
Right. And you got to be patient, and you got to love each other through it, and we got to make sure our men maintain their respect. And the way you maintain your respect, like I said, is being a man even through those difficult times. When you the way you love on your husband is making sure you still loving them through those difficult times. Like when he leaves for the day, you still tell him you love him, even though he's getting on your nerves right now, right? Stay and fight for your marriage, because chances are is that if you got married this time, the chances are if you leave this marriage, you will get married again, and then you'll learn in that second marriage that really you have to learn how to problem solve. And this is my second marriage, and the only thing different between my first marriage and my second marriage, and give me some grace here, because of course the two women are different, but really the focus is my approach to problem solving now. Like I know now that no matter who you with, when you merge two cultures, there will be some compromise. There will be some negotiation. There will be some disappointment. There will be some expectation that you did not have initially. And we got to work through all those things.
And the other thing
is not just about the person
that my pastor
you got to stay and fight for your marriage.
Was that, first marriages now are ending in about divorce in about 50% of the time. Second marriages are in the 60s. And then third marriages are around 70-75% of the time. So once you give up one time, it is easier to continue giving up. So work it out this time and stick it out this time, right?
Right. Because you're going to have the same issues. People think that when you get married, you're going to have like, okay, I married the wrong person. No, it's not about the wrong person. It is about you being a better husband and them being a better wife, or vice versa, or whatever. But it's not marriage. And so people just think that, like, I just made a mistake getting married. No, you didn't make a mistake.
Okay, so you would
just
say the
figure
biggest
out what you need to do better as a spouse, and then
what?
Trust and believe that they're going to do the same. The biggest difference would be is my approach to the marriage. Like initially in my first marriage, I was basically a problem identifier, right? That's what we got people running around out there just identifying problems. He did this. He did this. He did this. He did this. She did that. She did that. She won't do this. She won't do this. You're just a problem identifier. Instead of coming to the marriage as a problem solver and going into a problem and saying, hey, we have this disagreement. We have this misunderstanding. This is what I can do differently, or I can do better to try and help us meet halfway, right? You offer first, right? And then you let them offer instead of saying, hey, this is what I could do differently. And this is what I think you need to do
that's
differently.
Good stuff.
I need to tell
so that's 5 reasons to fight for your marriage. We also had a number of call-ins to the Divorce is Not an Option podcast hotline. And one comment really stood out to me. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that now. And if you would like to give your input or questions, we would love to hear from you. And our number is 469-294-3795.
You ladies today, because it helped me, and it was told to me by my coach today. And she told me the reason why we attract men that are unfaithful or unloyal to us is because we are unloyal to ourselves. So men look at us as being unloyal because we are so unloyal. We are loyal to them, but we are unloyal to ourselves, which is so true. we are loyal to everybody else in our life but ourselves. And that's how people portray us. And that's why everybody else is unloyal to us. And girl, when they told me that like hit me like straight in my face. So hopefully, that helps somebody, because it's helping me. Like, even though it hurt, it's the truth. We are so unloyal to ourselves. We give all of ourselves to everybody else and 0% to ourselves. And maybe if we start giving 100% to ourselves, everybody else will look at us differently.
Yeah, so the thing that struck me is when she said give 100% to
Tamara, you want to
yourself,
go first?
and it made me think about financial principles. You always pay yourself first. So I wouldn't say 100%, but you always
wait. When you say pay yourself first, you gotta define.
I mean, trying to simplify as
I
much
need to
as
buy
possible.
the shoes first. No,
but you need to make sure that you have your own savings account, that you have your 401k or your retirement savings or what your investments or whatever it is that comes off the top, that you never even see that really. You don't feel it coming out of your check, so that you're building a nest egg for yourself. And so that's why I would say the same thing applies when she's talking about how women are disloyal to themselves. If you pay yourself first in your own time, pay yourself in whatever it is that brings you peace and balance, and taking care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically. And so if we focus on being loyal to ourselves, then we can attract an energy of loyalty. And that also comes in just having some self-respect and self-confidence, and not allowing anybody to just be disloyal with you and think it's okay.
Chris Rock has a great joke where he talks about, how he's sitting, how a man would see his friend, and his friend has a wife, and the wife is a nice woman, and he's like complimentary of the woman, and he'll say to himself, I have to get a woman like that. Like a man will say that about his homeboy's woman. Like, I got to get a woman like that. Like, hey man, where'd you find her at? Does she have a sister? Blah, blah, blah. Women will look at her girlfriend's husband.
I completely disagree with that
I
joke.
need to take his husband. I need her husband. Like, I'm gonna take her husband.
Oh,
that's
my
a good
God.
Move.
No, I am not going to let you sit
It's
up
a
here
great
and disparage
joke.
all
it's
women
true.
like that.
Y'all will steal a dude. You will steal a dude.
No. Good women
be
are
like,
not saying I want him.
That's
Okay, some trifling women out there.
Okay, we'll say good women though. All right, I'll let you have that one. And so, yeah, it really what the thing about women and being loyal to themselves, like the whole Steve Harvey book, like Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. Like, I think that builds into it too, right? Because women spend so much time trying to figure out a man instead of spending time figuring out themselves and figuring out their value and having, self-value, like, self, respect and things like that, instead of worrying about what a man says. I tell women all the time, when women come to me and say, well, what is my man thinking, or what is my man doing? If they're not married, I'm like, don't
the
worry
right
about what
one will be worried about you when you're not worried about him. I mean, like, eventually, but I'm just saying, like,
and so,
I was not worried about
y'all
him.
figure out how to worry about each other together, right, at the same time. And so, but the overall point is if you spending time trying to figure out a man, then that man is probably not for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all should be both on the same page on how to develop the relationship, how to make it grow, how to spend more quality time with each other. Like, that is what both parties should be doing. You don't sit around trying, what is a man thinking, try to figure out, don't think, and definitely do not think like a man, right? Definitely think like a woman, because the woman naturally, innately knows how to make a relationship move forward. A lot of men don't know how to make a relationship move forward. So if you're thinking like a man, you just doing it. You just going along with whatever's happening every day, instead of setting forth the plan of how do we, develop more? Like, how do we communicate better? How do we grow?
And I want to clarify that
how
statement I just made. I was not worried about him because he made his intentions very clear. I didn't have to worry about him. Thank you. I was like, okay, that did not come out right.
I'm glad you came back in, because I was trying to help you out to get back there. I was like, man, you
No,
missed it.
but no, because he made his intentions
That's
very
why I
clear.
tried
didn't
to
have
come back
worry
and
about
say
him or
that's when
chase
you
after
talk
him
about
or
both,
whatever.
right? And
We
you was like,
just
nope, you worry about me.
exactly.
Right. You didn't have to figure anything out. There was no assumptions made. He wants me. Okay, cool. I want him. Okay, let's see if we can work this
Cool.
out. Let's see if we can
All
connect.
right.
Let's see what kind
Well,
of
thanks
chemistry
for
we had.
listening.
The whole figuring out part y'all
Subscribe to
skipped.
our show and follow and repost, retweet. We appreciate it. Bye, y'all.